Hi, it's Tanya. It's Thursday, it's 12 noon. That means it is live time on my Botanicum page, which is a page where I dedicate all posts as well as lives to general health and wellness, my absolute passion for essential oils and natural medicines. And we are currently busy with my gut series, which is called Healthy Gut, Healthy You. And yes, welcome if you've just joined me. This is Tanya from Botanicum. And basically, today we are going to continue with part 3. And part 3 involves food, because after all, nothing affects your gut health more rapidly and more powerfully than the food that you're consuming on a daily basis. All right, so if you've just joined, just say hi in the comments. Please tell me where you're from. Maybe send me a thumbs up just so I can see the people that are joining in. So thank you if you've just joined in. And also I would like to remind you that if you've missed parts 1 and 2, you can always just go and find them in my live feed on my Facebook page. You can go and rewatch them there. But I'm also loading them up onto my YouTube channel, and I will post the channel link in the comments. So you can go and watch or recap for part 1 and part 2 if you want to catch up after watching part 3 today. So very welcome. Thanks for joining. And I think today's topic is very relevant because we think, when you're thinking gut health, obviously I mentioned in weeks 1 and 2 that we need to stop the bleeding. And the reason we need to stop the bleeding is the amount of toxins we have around us on a daily basis, or in the chemical products that we put onto our skins every day, in the makeup that women wear or men wear on a daily basis. We are actually bombarding ourselves with quite a lot of toxins on a daily basis. And yes, we have an immune system. That is true. Our bodies are designed to heal themselves naturally. But when you unfortunately are bombarding yourself with so many toxins on a daily basis, it really does actually struggle to keep up with detoxing. And the reason why gut health is so exceptionally important, if you think about it, is number one, we need an immune system to survive with all the threats. The biggest part of our immune system actually sits in our gut. But besides that, we're also going to feel really horrible because serotonin, which is one of the feel-good chemicals that our bodies produce, actually more than 90% of that is produced in the gut lining, and the gut bacteria have a very big part to play there. So you can understand why something like gut health is very much in the forefront at the moment. There's quite a few people doing research on it, universities, institutions, because I think everyone has realized now with the gut-brain connection and that vagus nerve, they are now starting to realize what an important role microbes play in our life. So it's not just to digest food, digest the food, which we didn't even previously know. We just thought our gut system was like a mechanical machine that chowed the food and gave you nutrients, okay? And then we started learning about the bacteria, what an important role they play. And then also, if you negatively affect these bacteria, you're sitting with a problem, because then number one, you're not digesting your food properly. You are going to have a lack of nutrients in your system. It's going to affect your mood because you're not producing all the feel-good hormones like you're supposed to. So gut health is really at the forefront of research at the moment. And there's obviously quite a few things that we can do on a daily basis that is either going to really seriously damage it. More thumbs up coming. Hello, Idalet. Thanks for joining. I like all those thumbs up. Please, just a reminder, go into the comments, say hi, say where you're from, so we can have a little chat afterwards if you want as well, and ask questions in there too. So the gut health is really important for all those factors that I've just mentioned. And if you go back to parts 1 and 2, we talked for a little bit of a recap, the why. My reason for why I'm talking about gut health is because I've suffered with I think, poor gut health most of my life. I think it's because I grew up in an era where poor gut health was not something that we really knew about. And if you had a stomach ache all the time, you were just, I don't know, you were a complainer. Come on, man. Tanya, stop moaning. Surely your tummy can't be sore all the time. Surely you can't be bloated all the time. And you get into this whole phase of where it becomes normal to just pop a pill because it just takes the pain away really quickly. And as we'll go through today's session about what we put into our mouths, you'll start understanding how having that kind of reaction where it's easy to take a pill for a symptom because really the Western medicine and the medication we have, it's brilliant, but it's really awesome for acute cases only. And when we start looking into chronic conditions, these chemicals that we're putting into our mouth, food has also got chemicals in them, natural as well. But let's talk about these compounds. Yolandi from Roodepoort, thank you for joining. But basically, these compounds are going to either have a positive or a negative effect. And in most cases, when you start taking something chronically, it's going to start affecting systems, body systems. And when your body systems are trying to detox from those chemicals over a very long period of time, you are definitely going to start seeing some damage. Okay, so I like this quote by one of my favorite guys. I'll post some of these links later because there's so many good docu-series out there that really just explains to you where these doctors go and take the scientific research and they just put it into layman terms for the general public so that they too can understand what all this mumbo jumbo jargon that we think it is, what it's actually meaning and what it's actually saying. But it's very simple if you break it down, what it is that you put in your mouth. If you're eating dead food, it's going to make you tired and it's going to make you depressed. There's just no other way of putting it. Because number one, eating dead food is referring to the fact that our swills are so dead because of our agricultural industry. The masses need to be fed, guys. If we don't have enough food, people are really just more and more people are going to die of starvation. But I think what has now happened is the swills are dead. Now we have to keep on putting in chemical fertilizers to get the plants to grow. They are genetically modified, so the plants themselves are no longer able to produce amino acids at their root level, which also means there's not enough nutrients in the plant. So even if we do eat them, we're not getting in the amount of nutrients that we're supposed to be able to feed our body. So yes, we're getting in stuff, we're getting in bulk. We think we're eating food, but it's dead. And because whatever is in the food is actually quite detrimental to the bacteria in your gut, it's killing them off, it's damaging them. They're not making all the feel-good hormones. And without the feel-good hormones, that's where the saying is going to come from, depressed. So when we eat dead food, we become depressed. Okay, it's as simple as that. And I think that's just in a nutshell how powerful it can be to take that first step. And the first step, obviously, is being committed. That is the most important step of first realizing, doing the research, going through all the information and understanding what it is that you're doing to your body on a daily basis and how you can actually uplift it. And by doing small daily steps of a daily wellness routine, get to a stage where you're improving your gut health on a daily basis. You're feeding those beautiful bacteria the right stuff, the fibers, the soluble fibers that they need. You don't keep on bombarding them with toxins. In other words, you're slowing or you're stopping the bleeding. And then everything will work like it's supposed to. And you'll hopefully then have a longer life that is filled with energy, no brain fog. Your brain will last for quite a while longer, and it'll be without disease. Because I think that's the one thing. We're all focused on what can we do to get to a stage where we live longer. And Western medicine has really helped us with that. But we've gotten to a stage now where the chronic conditions that we're experiencing so much at a higher level is because of poor health style choices that people are making on a daily basis. And if you're not looking after yourself now, you might say, I'm not as sensitive as Tanya. I clearly don't have as many skin or gut issues as she does. 10, 15 years from now, because that's how long it takes. 10, 15 years of making poor health style choices on a daily basis is what leads to chronic inflammation. And I actually came, it's something that I've come to learn through all the research, but I've actually now seen it quoted. I've actually seen it on a website. And on cancer.gov, the website about cancer, they actually state, and this is why I'm always on about gut health and inflammation, because if you're putting stuff into your gut that is causing discomfort and bloating and inflammation, you're going to have a problem. Because chronic inflammation, look, inflammation is a good thing. We all have inflammation because when you get hurt, you bump yourself. Inflammation starts so that the blood can take the molecules to heal there. And the whole swelling up thing, it's also to tell you to slow down and not bump your leg again. Inflammation is good. But when that turns into a chronic condition, and for most of us, the medical profession still don't understand why it continues, and it's like a loop. But over time, chronic inflammation can cause DNA damage and lead to cancer. Not my words. This is coming straight from cancer.gov's website. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind when you're popping a over-the-counter medication with a side effect. Yes, side effects on this page is as long as my arm. But this is from a medication that I used to take very chronically, being a ballet dancer, because I always had pain and I always had inflammation. Did I bother to read the pamphlet? No. Do most of my gut issues that I've been dealing with chronically in the last 10 to 15 years stem from supplementing it? Because in my instance, I mean, I was taking so many of them, they could have been a food in my diet. Just one of the things, I mean, the side effects that on that side, possible side effects, okay? That's how long that list is. But the one that I've circled in there is gastrointestinal perforation. And if you don't know what that big word means, leaky gut. One non-steroidal anti-inflammatory gives you permeability in your gut. Okay, and as we carry on with the series, I'll start showing you what that really means and how you can start repairing your gut, because we all suffer from it in various extents. In some cases, like mine, it was really severe. You do get people who actually experience no symptoms from it, even though it is there. But what you're doing over time is, if you do not get that chronic inflammation under control, cancer.org says you're going to develop cancer. Okay, their words. All right, so let's actually move on from there and start talking about the things that you are putting into your mouths on a daily basis that are going to get you to a stage where you're either going to negatively affect the gut lining itself, or the bacteria, and all the molecules that go in there, and also where you just eating more and more and more because literally you're not getting the nutrients that you need. Okay, so yes, eating dead food makes you depressed. Keep that in the back of your mind now. And then we go through these commandments. Okay, I call them commandments because we're going to make them like all serious, but in natural fact, it's actually really easy if you understand what they're doing to your body, and you literally just make that commitment and you switch and you start making better choices on a daily basis. Okay, and what we're going to talk about here are not only foods. We are going to talk about other chemicals and things too, but besides that, there's quite a large population saying that everything natural is good for you, and that's absolute rubbish. Please, it's not true. There's a lot of natural things that are actually really serious and that can be so toxic to you that you can die on the spot. I, for one, found another black widow under my bed the other morning. I mean, one bite, I would not have been here today. That spider is natural. It has a natural tendency to protect itself and its young by biting and killing their food, so they have food, number one, or defending themselves. Okay, so not everything natural is good for you. In my instance, very sensitive to gluten and wheat, react quite severely to it, not just the fad diet thing. So you can see that there's quite a few natural things that are actually quite detrimental to certain people, which may be fine for others. Okay, so the very first thing I want to talk about, and this is actually probably going to bring up quite a lot of conversation, which I'm not scared about now because I've actually done quite a lot of research. But GMOs are a little bit of a problem in the industry. There's quite a lot of people saying that yes, we need to feed the masses and that kind of thing. Yes, we want to give them food, but to what extent are you actually damaging their health going forward? Are you in the game of just providing them with enough food until they hit the age of 30, before they develop a serious autoimmune condition and die from that? Or what is the intention? So GMOs are relatively new, and I'm saying relatively new because it's probably about 30, 40 years. We used to do genetic manipulation where literally plants were mated together. Okay, and that's not the GMOs. They're technically GMOs if you look to the definition of it, but that's not what I'm speaking about here. Here we're speaking where you're physically taking genes from one organism and you're putting them into another, either to increase the longevity of the fruit that you are going to be consuming. In other words, that they've got a longer shelf life. Whether you are making crops that are resistant to pests because you would like them to not have the pests eat them. There's some genetic crops that are actually so modified that they are actually not susceptible to herbicides. So herbicides are sprayed over these fields. In some cases, these herbicides are actually used as desiccants. I'll explain that in a second. But the herbicides are sprayed so that the weeds around the plants can actually die, and because the plants are modified, they don't physically die, but all those genes and chemicals get into your body when you eat them. There is almost no non-GMO corn. I'm going to use an example here. Non-GMO corn in the world. We used to have more than 100 strains, I believe, of different corn species. We're down to eight, and they're all controlled by big conglomerate organizations. Okay, why do they make GMOs? Well, it increases crop yields, right? You can get 20 to 30% more food by growing a GMO. And besides that, the top foods in the US that are genetically modified, that you really struggle to find good organic food for, or varieties from, is corn, soya, canola. If you think how many people eat canola oil. Alfalfa, which is supposed to be this amazing superfood, health food. Sugar beets, they call it sugar beets in America, we just call it beet in South Africa. Papaya, and I find that quite disheartening because I love papaya. They've got quite a large range of GMOs in Hawaii and China. Zucchini, animal products, there's quite a few animal products that are mixed with GMOs. Microbes and enzymes, because they grow these things from genetically modified organisms on substrates to be able to make supplements. Apples, I didn't know that one, and potatoes. Okay, so why are GMOs bad? Because, you know, I'm a scientist. I used to make GMOs in the lab, guys. I used to make yeast to chomp starch so that it can produce bioethanol without having to use high temperatures in yeast or high temperatures in heat to first liquefy that starch so that the yeast itself can just eat the starch and make bioethanol for the bioethanol industry, okay? So it takes quite a while for a scientist to wrap their mind around what is a GMO, what is a good GMO, what is going to benefit, and what is not going to benefit. And if we just go to the Center for Food Safety, okay, so this is not a green organization or happy clappy, love the trees kind of people. It's the Center for Food Safety in America. They've already explicitly said that they are linking GMO food consumption to allergic reactions, antibiotic resistance, cancer, loss of nutrition, as well as toxicity. Okay, and let's just go into allergic reactions. Why would you get an allergic reaction if you, for instance, eat, soybeans? Well, it's because they took one of the genes of Brazil nuts, or Brazil nuts, however you want to say it. They put it into soybeans, and they grow the soybeans. And basically what it does is it's for pests resistance and that kind of thing. But some consumers that are allergic to tree nuts and Brazil nuts then started reacting to soy, okay? Because it's actually the synthesis of methionine, which is an amino acid that was increased in the soy when they put the Brazil nuts gene in there. So, you know, here you are eating soy products because you've become a vegetarian and you don't want to eat animal products, and hey, bam, you get an allergic reaction and you have no idea why. I just don't think or believe that there's enough research out there to really ensure and make sure that GMOs are safe. Okay, let's talk about the desiccation. Glyphosate is a really serious issue. We can say this online because there's now several court cases going on. Woo, I like all the hearts and the thumbs coming up. I've obviously just said something there that really interested people. Glyphosate, pesticide, also registered as an antibiotic. Besides the fact that it causes real big havoc in your stomach with your bacteria and your gut health, they actually use it as a desiccant. So what that means is whenever the crop is finished, if the plants are resistant to it, they spray it over the field, because if you've ever used Roundup before, you know it dries out, it goes yellow, and it then dries up that weed that you're trying to kill. Okay, that's exactly what it does. So instead of having to have the crop lying on the fields to dry in the sun for a couple of days and risk being contaminated by mold spores and those kind of things, when they desiccate it, they spray the glyphosate over the fields. It dries and shrivels up the crop, and it dries out really quickly, which means they can harvest quicker, they can pack quicker, they can get it into the market quicker. Okay, glyphosate gives you cancer. I can say that because there's research out there and there are court cases that are not sending people in the right direction. So please, GMOs are not a good idea. You've got to try and avoid them as far as possible. That was my first commandment for gut health. Commandment 2, thou shalt not eat processed food. Okay, and I know, again, this is a feed the masses kind of thing, but there's quite a few GMOs that are lurking in processed foods. But besides that, The preservatives that are in there are crazy. Oh yes, I can see more hearts and things coming up. If you guys have got questions while I'm talking, please feel free to type them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them on the way. Why are processed foods bad for you? Because they've got so many preservatives in there. And just think now again, let's think unscience, not difficult at all. Let's break it down, let's unpack it. What is a preservative in there? Why is it in there? It needs to preserve the food. Why? Because you and I, as the consumer, demands a shelf life for a white bread for 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's all this yummy food for fungal spores floating around the air. All they're doing is waiting to reproduce, and the spore is going to fall on the bread and it's going to start growing some mold. I mean, and it's happy because it can reproduce. All right, so we are demanding longer shelf lives. Okay, and to do that, they need to put in emulsifiers and preservatives, which extend the shelf life, but also improve the texture. And a lot of these emulsifiers, besides the preservatives, we can understand a preservative is there to bring bacterial, fungal contamination down so that it doesn't give you food poisoning. So we need preservatives, okay? If you are going to eat a piece of fish that hasn't been in the fridge for 4 days, be very scared. I'd rather chuck it away. Why? Because food spoilage organism starts to grow. And everything that you buy on the shelves that is pre-prepared, like these very nice ready-made meals, you pop them in the microwave, you eat them in front of the TV, Bob's your uncle, you've had dinner in 5 minutes, you can carry on doing whatever you're supposed to be doing. They're laden with preservatives, and they've got to be in there because you, the consumer, want that shelf life, okay? But while they're in there to improve the texture and to keep the bacterial load down, as soon as it gets into your body, it's also going to very negatively affect your gut bacteria and start killing them off, okay? We don't want that. All right, then refined carbs. Oof, guys. You know, I'm talking about this whole evolution thing here. In the last 100 or 200 years, the agricultural industry has just boomed. Our genes cannot keep up. Our mutations in our own body to adapt cannot happen that quickly without it being detrimental to our health or killing us, basically. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you need to consider here. In refined carbs, what you're actually doing is you're feeding the wrong bacteria in your gut. So it's the ones craving the carbs and the sugar, okay? Sugar is one of those things that actually also increases your gut permeability. So, and we'll get to that in a second, but you've got to start thinking toxin-wise, not just chemicals you're putting in your mouth. Yes, Tanya was popping non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for years before I actually realized what they were doing to my gut health. It's not just that, it's about the foods too. And if you're someone that gets very severely bloated from gluten, bloated from eating pasta and bread, is your body telling you that this is good, nutrient-dense food, or is it telling you to stay away because it doesn't like it? Okay, and I think the golden rule here is to start listening to your body and looking at your symptoms. Okay, if you eat chocolate, and I'm talking candy bars or all kinds of weird things, although a very high percentage cocoa can do that to a lot of people too. If you eat that late at night, number one, it's going to keep you awake because the sugar is going to just give you too much energy. But number two, if you wake up with a headache the next morning, like almost like you've got a hangover, what does that mean? Is that your body trying to tell you, please don't eat candy at 10 p.m. in the evening? Okay, and you've got to learn to listen to your body, because your body knows. We know. We've just learned over the last, I don't know how many years, to not listen because pressures are there. I mean, we've got time constraints and life is hectic and you've got to get stuff done, and yeah. So basically, we've got to try and get inflammation down, and you do that by feeding your gut bacteria what they want and what they need to produce the good, feel-good hormones, as well as process your food and build your immune system, because they are the first guys that start detecting when there's a food pathogen in there. So we've got to protect our gut lining. And when we're talking gut lining and leaky gut, for instance, now, leaky gut is intestinal permeability, and I think for a long time the doctors refused to say that there was a condition like that, but they're realizing now that there are more and more people building food sensitivities, and the reason because is Number one reason is leaky gut. Yes, we have food allergies. There are certain people with very serious food allergies. That's an IgE response. When we're talking food sensitivities, there's quite a few testings that you can go and get done. A lot of integrated health practices are amazing with that because they are basically GPs that have gone and studied further, understanding that nutrition and supplementation are holistically going to support your body with your food to get a state where you are healthier and you are going to have a better quality life. Okay, and they've got a lot of amazing tests out there, and when you're testing on these, and you know, some of them are 99 food ingredients, some of them are 499 depending on how much money you want to spend, but a lot of these tests, when you come back with the results and you are reacting to say 20 ingredients, actually you're not sensitive to all 20 ingredients. What that is telling you is you probably have leaky gut. And what that means is the tight linkages between the cells in your gut lining, they're gone. They're disappeared. They've been destroyed by what you're putting in your mouth. And that is the non-steroidal inflammatories. It's the glucose. There's actually quite a long list. I wrote it down here somewhere in all my papers. Meat glue. I don't think it's such a big thing in South Africa yet, but I know overseas we really struggle with that. When they say formed meat, it's literally, it's microbial transglutinase. It's an enzyme that like glues meat together. Very bad, causes leaky gut. Glucose, sodium, high sodium diets, very bad for leaky gut. Emulsifiers. And those are the ones that improve the texture and extend the shelf life of our products. Organic acids. And here they speak specifically about acetaldehyde, which is actually made by your body in the liver when it's trying to detox when you've had alcohol. Okay, it's also an organic, some of the fermented foods have organic acids, but there you always got to weigh up the positive versus the negative. Okay, are the benefits that I'm going to get from eating a fermented food more than the negative side effects? Okay, all right, and then gluten. It's the biggest one. It's the one thing out there that is causing the most gut issues from all the inflammatory foods is basically gluten. Milk, definitely, dairy plays a role, caffeine, refined sugar, soy, all those kind of things, but gluten by far, because it actually shears your gut. And if you are someone that's not sensitive to it, that just means your gut is still able to repair itself every single time you've eaten it. But when you get to a stage like I have, you are no longer able to repair. And then because these tight linkages have broken, it just means that food particles are going into your blood, and because they're not digested properly, your body sees them as bacteria and viruses, and they go, oh, invaders, inflammation, let's go kill them. And then you start attacking your own food molecules. So then what? Constant chronic inflammation. And what happens? Now all these 20 foods have gone into your bloodstream. Now I'm fighting almonds, eggs, salmon, wheat, gluten, soy, oats. I can't even go through the whole list, but it basically means that your body is no longer able to use the food that you're providing it because it's making antibodies to attack the whole lot of it. Okay, and that's not a condition we all need to be in or want to be in, because you're permanently uncomfortable, you permanently have pain, you're permanently bloated. Okay. Alison Watson saying, can you recommend tests to have? Definitely. So there's again controversial information about this. I found them excessively useful. If you don't understand the term ELISA, it's something that I can discuss with you afterwards. Enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, and they're basically testing antibodies. And they coat a plate with protein molecules, or what we call antigens, on the plate, and if your blood reacts to that and there's antibodies, then they can tell you do have a sensitivity because you do have those antibodies present. Okay, I'll put some in the comments after today's talk so that you can go and check, because there's quite a few labs doing it. The trick is you've got to go and find yourself a nice integrated health practitioner, because they send the results obviously to your healthcare provider, because they've got to explain to you what the tests mean, how you're able to change your diet, all those kind of things. Okay. Michelle saying, so many children are diagnosed with food intolerances now. That's exactly what it is. If you've been eating processed foods since you were a child, and I mean, we didn't have that many when I grew up, and GMOs didn't exist while I was in school. Okay. And because of the GMOs and the additional preservatives and the emulsifiers and everything that is just so ready at the moment, you can just go and buy stuff through a drive-through. All of those chemicals are physically causing barrier damage. They're destroying the gut bacteria as well. And your immune system goes down because the immunity sits in your gut, or the biggest part of your immune cell system sits in your gut. And that is why they have all these intolerances. Okay, and you need to repair the gut, because it doesn't mean you won't be able to eat your list of 20 or 30 foods that you're reacting to a year from now. You probably will be able to go back to eating them, but you do start with an elimination process to try and figure out which ones are causing the inflammation. You literally don't have them for a while. You give your gut a chance to heal. And when it's healed, you then start reintroducing these foods back into your life when your body is able to go and use those nutrients again. And it's no longer fighting itself. I think that's the biggest thing. Okay, and I've gone well over half an hour again today. You can see this is just something I'm really, really passionate about. I've got quite a lot of experience in this, obviously, because I've been through such a tough health journey with my gut. So yes, we are going to next week talk about less negatives, more positive. So next week we are going to look at various things you can do on a daily basis to improve your gut, foods that can help you heal, and we'll talk a little bit more about the diagnostics and those kind of things to sort of, if you are someone that you want to go and have tests done to see. I mean, it's very easy to just start doing an elimination diet, and because your body tells you immediately whether it's a good or a bad food for you. But if you do want to go and have the lab result to tell you and give you an easy to go to list, listen, this and this and this. I'm also a very firm believer in your genes determine what foods your body was designed to eat. So I very closely look at things like blood diets and those kind of thing, because again, we are trying to force ourselves to eat foods when our blood groups have not been able to adapt in the last couple of 100 years, yet we're expecting our genes to adapt to make enzymes to digest these weird things that we're putting into our mouths and into our bodies on a daily basis. Evolution just doesn't happen that quickly. So we'll start looking into those kind of things next week, and what you can do on a daily basis to improve your gut health, because if you're eating live foods, you are going to have a lot more energy, which also means you're going to have to eat less. You're not going to have all those sugar cravings. You're not going to have the brain fog in the afternoons. It's going to really increase your brain power. It's also going to improve your focus and memory. Who doesn't want that? And yeah, you're just going to feel a lot better in general and be less bloated and uncomfortable all the time. So please tune in again next week. I'll be uploading this video to my YouTube channel if you would like to go and rewatch it again. And please make sure to go and put your comments in the comment section. If there's any particular questions you want answered, I'll go and answer them in there. If you're already in my health and wellness business with me as a partner, a lot of these questions you are very able to obviously ask me in my one-to-one coaching as well. Very willing to assist you with that. Yes, and let's see each other again next week, Thursday, 12 noon, where we are going to continue talking about things that we're putting into our mouth and tests that we can have done to improve our gut health, because with an improved gut health, we are going to become healthier too. Thank you. Cheerio.